Hi, everyone. Welcome to Onstage with Dorian, where we'll meet people who bring you live performance in Vermont and New Hampshire. Actors, singers, dancers, puppeteers, directors, designers, and more. I'm Dorian Chanois. Let's get started. My guest today is José Daniel Flores-Caraballo, who is the conductor of the Vermont Symphony Orchestra chorus. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a lot of questions because I think you're the first conductor with whom I've ever spent time except being, in the chorus, just tell me what to do and teach me the notes. Okay. How did you get started in music? Were you one of those little kids who banged on your mother's pots and pans until she said, "You're not going to be a drummer, I'm getting you a violin"?
I'm a son of a minister who was in a church where he had a lot of music. And so as a child, I started playing the piano and the organ before taking any lessons. So I started playing by ear. And it was when they saw the interest that they took me for lessons. It was when I was 10 years, when I was what? Oh my gosh, in third grade that I started music lessons formally, right? This is something that was with me from the very beginning. I can tell you a story that shows what that was like. For instance, since I was a child, I always had music in my mind. And there were times when I started taking lessons that I would cry because I could not sleep with music in my mind. And I would stop only when my mother would say, if you don't stop crying, you're going to stop the music lessons.
Oh.
So it was with me. I'm not sure how to explain it, but music has been my company all my life.
So, at some point, you decided to study formally as a young adult and get a degree in music. How did that happen? Where did you get this degree? What is it? And what was your area of concentration?
So my life in the church took me to play the organ for that church since I was 10 years old and conduct the adult choir since I was 12 years old. Oh. However, as I grew up and my interest continued, then I decided to enter the Conservatory of Music for an undergraduate degree in music education. But I was also playing the piano, guitar, the organ, and having lessons on that on the instruments as well. That's what took me to the Conservatory of Music in San Juan. This is a conservatory that was founded by Pablo Casals. Before I finished my undergraduate, I was already working in a full-time job as a church musician in another church in San Juan. From there, 11 years after that, I moved to the United States, in this case to Albuquerque, New Mexico, for another job. But in between, I was able to go to Illinois for the graduate degree in choral conducting and organ. The undergraduate was music education with a minor in instrumental conducting, and then graduate was choral conducting and organ, and later the doctor's degree included instrumental conducting again. But when people ask me this question, I like to say that I don't remember me ever choosing music. I always felt that music chose me.
Very nice. Okay, so what was your position in Albuquerque?
In Albuquerque, I was a church musician. I had, sacred music offers a tremendous opportunity to musicians, particularly in the United States. And this was a large church. We had over 24 different choirs and ensembles. Before that, I was an organist in the previous church, organist and choral conductor and orchestral conductor. But in that particular church, I was only the conductor, and I had another person playing the organ. And the reason is because the choral program was so large. I always had a passion for church music, but at the same time, I was doing community choirs on the side. And there was a time after spending some time in those churches, Albuquerque, and then after that, Vero Beach, Florida, that I decided to have a career change and be a full-time chorus and orchestra conductor. And that's what took me to Albany for Albany Pro Musica, chorus and orchestra that perform at a professional level. And then after that to Vermont, the beautiful state of Vermont, with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra and chorus.
So when did you come to Vermont, and what specifically brought you here?
It's very interesting because at the time I was hired in Albany, which was 11 years ago, right, 2014. At the same time, I decided to apply for the position with the Vermont Symphony Chorus because I knew that at that time I wanted to diversify a little bit. And of course, Maestro Robert de Cormier was the founder of that group. And to me, it was...
Of Albany Pro Musica?
No, Vermont. Robert de Cormier.
Oh.
He was the founder of the Vermont Symphony Chorus. So the opportunity to follow...
Tell the viewers why they probably know who he is, even if they don't think they do.
Robert de Cormier was a remarkable musician. He made a fantastic career, international and national career. And before moving to Vermont, he was in New York City. And he was known not only for his work as a conductor, but also as a composer and arranger. And he was also a man of a profound conscience of social justice. And he made singing and performing for peace his mission in life. So precisely because of who he was, is that I was the most interested in following his steps in Vermont. I consider that a great honor.
So, again, I say people probably knew, or many people would have known who he was, even if they don't recognize the name. So if you sang in your high school or college chorus, you maybe sang something by de Cormier?
Exactly. So people in the choral world and even orchestral world would know who he is. He continues to be a well-known name in this world.
Okay, so now you are in Vermont as a choral conductor, but your title is that you're the choral conductor for the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. What's the relation between the symphony orchestra and the chorus?
So the chorus is part of the organization. So it is administered by the organization of the Symphony Orchestra. They're part of the mission. And the difference is that traditionally in these organizations, you have the orchestra conductor, and you would have, when there is a chorus associated with the symphony, you would have a chorus conductor. And the models change, in which sometimes the choral conductor in this particular situation would prepare the chorus for the orchestra conductor to conduct the chorus after you have prepared the chorus for a particular work. Sometimes, like it has been the case with the Vermont Symphony, they would ask me to conduct the orchestra as well. But the reason for that is because while it is more often than not, choral conductors do not conduct orchestras. But in my case, I have had the training and experience in both. I feel perfectly comfortable in both. So, of course, it was natural that they would ask me to conduct from time to time the orchestra.
So, okay, so these are not the same thing, conducting a chorus and conducting an orchestra, until the two come together for the concert, and whoever is on the podium needs to be able to do it.
Yes, and sometimes an orchestra conductor doesn't have much knowledge about how a chorus operate, or the technique of the singers, or what was necessary for the chorus to be there. orchestra conductors have different level of understanding of the choral voice. Some are much more knowledgeable than others. Regardless, once you have prepared the chorus, whoever is on the podium will have the final word. So it's a delicate balance if you're preparing the chorus for another conductor, where, of course, you want to instruct the chorus on what you want them to do, but you need to take very much into consideration what you know or suspect the orchestra conductor will want to do. And not always you will have clarity on that, because not always these conductors have the time to talk to the choral conductor. So you need to anticipate, prepare the chorus for different scenarios and that kind of thing.
So is one harder for you than the other, conducting instrumentalists and conducting singers?
Not in my case, because I had the training for both. But what I can tell you is that they are quite different, and that makes it challenging and enjoyable. In other words, the way I prepare for a choral rehearsal is not the same way that I prepare for an orchestra rehearsal. It's not only the technical aspect of it. What some people may not know is that there's a psychological aspect too. Choruses have a dynamic that is very social. You hear often a choral conductor having a pep talk with their singers. It's a very social, community-oriented group, while orchestras tend to be, although there's also a sense of community, orchestras tend to be a job. Think about it, many of these musicians have a difficult schedule going from one job to the next. So they get to the rehearsal, they want to be down to business. You start with a pep talk and they will look at you like, really? I just drove 3 hours to be here and you're going to talk? Let's get to business. So there's a little bit of a difference. Also, instrumentalists go prepared there to just interpret the music, and they will just follow your gesture, while the choral conductor, the choral singer, there's some of that, but they need perhaps a little bit more teaching, a little bit more nurturing, depending on the level of the chorus, of course.
Okay, when you are conducting chorus and orchestra in a big concert, I'm sure many people have been to a concert of the Messiah, and I'm in a small chorus, and every now and then, the question comes up, do you remember the first time you sang the Hallelujah chorus? Mm-hmm. I do. And I also remember how different it was after working for weeks with the high school music teacher who did end up conducting the instrumentalists as well as the singers, how amazing it was to get in there and have all of us together, because I had never heard that before. We always were. When you are rehearsing, or rather performing, with both chorus and orchestra, how do you, divide your attention or manage to deal with the things you've described, that the singers perhaps need a little more nurturing and the instrumentalists are perhaps, more technically prepared? Or maybe they're not, I don't know.
You need to pay attention to what the score requires. One of the aspects of conducting that some people may not know is that what really takes time is not the rehearsal or the time you're at the performance. What really takes time is the study of the score. We spend countless hours studying the scores. In a way, conducting is like performing a large instrument. Just assume, in my case, I am a pipe organ player. That's my instrument, right? So when I am on the pipe organ, I know how to interpret the music that is in front of me. When you stand in front of a chorus or an orchestra, you're playing that instrument of many people, and so you need to know what you're going to require from that instrument. The way to know how to require is by profound study of the historical period, the composer, and the intention of that composition. And then you need to know the score very well. And instrumentalists and chorus members will know when a conductor is not well prepared. So once you have studied the score, you know what part of a section that you're performing at that moment, who has the leading voice. So there's a moment in which the violins have the leading voice, then it turns to the cellos, right? You say cello in plural, or to the brass, or maybe it's the sopranos or the altos. All that you should have very clear after you have analyzed the score. You almost need to memorize the score, but of course, when you do a lot of music, that is a little challenging. So at the very least, you need to mark the score in a way that can lead you in what you're going to be doing. Then, of course, there is the nonverbal language. There's a reason for the hand motion, and in the case of what most people identify with an orchestra is the baton, right? So there's a specific language. In fact, if I lose my voice and I go to a rehearsal, all I need is this. I don't need to explain anything because the hand motion will tell the chorus exactly, or the orchestra, what they need to do and where to go.
Good to know. Let us look at some pictures from your life and career. Ready for the first one. There we are. Tell us what's happening here.
What is happening there is I was still a student at the conservatory, and that was a church where I was working, and I took a quartet, a guitar quartet, actually, from the conservatory. I used to study guitar with the teacher of that quartet when I was in the conservatory. And what is in the back is precisely an interdenominational chorus that I formed while I was still a student at the conservatory, and we were there at a concert.
Great. Now, here's something else that you did as a younger person, we'll just
Yes,
say.
there was a time I was quite young. I don't understand it, but what happened there...
I have the same problem.
Yeah, right. So I was fortunate to work with some private schools in San Juan. And in this case, that's an elementary school where we had an audition chorus of children that it was quite large, and that group I enjoy very much. You know, what I enjoy the most is that I look at that picture and I can tell you there are a few in that group that continue with a music career. They are now my colleagues, and they were there as elementary students. There's nothing more rewarding than that.
I love this picture of you. Tell us what's going on.
I'm thinking, and the musicians that are there, you can see there's someone with a bass, right, a contrabass, hopefully looking at me and wondering, what are you thinking? So I am probably just looking at the score and giving instructions. Sometimes you need to simply say something that relates to what they just played and explain, no, let's do it this other manner. And that's what's happening there. That was, in fact, right before a concert here with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra and chorus at the Capitol in Montpelier.
Okay. And this is my favorite picture of the ones you sent me because you're so focused. And now I understand when you say that if you lost your voice, the hands and the baton would tell us what your hands are saying there.
In that case, you know, that was a point in which I was about to give a cue. So I'm preparing that hand for that cue that the orchestra, the chorus in this case. This was at the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall, which is near Albany, with the Albany Pro Musica chorus. In that case, I did not have an orchestra, I had the chorus. And I switch, even when I have the chorus, I switch from using the baton or not, depending on the character of the music. In that case, it was a very expressive piece that I wanted to do with my hands.
Yeah, so important, for the singers and instrumentalists too, not have our noses in the music, because you need to see when the conductor has that precise moment of get ready because now it's coming.
Well, but you know what? It's not only for the singers, it's important for the conductor not to have the nose on the music. The conductor must have visual contact with the singers and instrumentalists. And in fact, while they look at your hands when it's time for certain cues, most of the time, the chorus and the orchestra are looking at your eyes. So, in fact, there are some exercises when you learn conducting where you should be conducting without hands and just conduct with your face expression.
That is very interesting. Didn't know that. Okay. Now, so this is an example of just a piece of choral music because, you know, if you're watching this and you've never sung before, there are just 4 strips of music. I'll call them strips, staffs. And then 2 more on the bottom. The 2 on the bottom say piano, you can see that, and then the basses, the tenors, the altos, the sopranos. So there's a lot to keep track of, but it's not an overwhelming amount. How do you, let's say, prepare and then maybe rehearse something with this level of complicatedness?
So it looks simple, but it's not as much. In fact, this piece was composed by Donald McCullough, who was a composer resident of Albany Musica, and he wrote this after his partner died in a tragic accident. And this piece talked precisely about the way he was still feeling the presence of his beloved, feeling that someone was coming to kiss him, but there was no one there. And so it's called Sitting Under the Mistletoe. It's very moving. So the first thing is you want to know about the piece. You don't want to know about the composer, so you can have your chorus sing with understanding of what the piece is about. But then, if you notice, of course, for those who don't know what a soprano, alto, tenor, bass, think of this like the basses are the foundation of the house, and then you have the tenors, which are perhaps the floor and the windows, and you have the altos, which are all the ornaments that you put around, and then you have the sopranos who are on top with a beautiful roof. So it's different levels of voices that go from low to high. But if you notice in that score, I have my own markings, because the other thing is that a conductor should be able to interpret the music, not only to recreate or to project what the composer wanted, but to project your own interpretation. Mm-hmm. Also, you need to know what the difficulties are. Like in the first line, you notice that the tenor and basses are singing in unison. This is what this line that I have written there means. Just to make sure that
the vertical, the thing that looks like a parenthesis.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a way for me to remind myself and everyone this is a unison. It's just one voice. It's nothing more difficult than to sing in one voice when you have several voices. So you want to have a perfect unison. And the same happens with the soprano, alto, and tenors after that.
And again, it looks like parentheses
exactly.
that you made, yeah.
And then this tells me when the division of the voices, when they divert from unison to harmony. But I have also decided where to take a breath, and I have written some rests. If you can see on the second measure, I have written some.
So the measures they're like little sections within those horizontal lines. They're vertical lines, and they break the horizontals into chunks. And each chunk is a measure.
Exactly. So you know how many beats or how you will have, or pulsations you will have in each one of those measures or bars. And I have indicated here, I wrote when I want the tenors and basses to take a breath, because they need to take a breath together, especially if there's a consonant, so that will be together. So there are all kind of indication of annotations you need to do in the music as you study, so you can then know what to ask from your singers.
So let's look at something more complicated. In my opinion, it's more complicated. Now, this is a score for orchestra, and you know, if you're looking at this on your screen at home, or on your computer or on your telephone, you can see running up and down the left-hand side the names of the instruments, and José Daniel, as conductor, needs to keep track of and know what he expects of and lead all these instruments in all this music happening all at once. I guess you could think of this maybe as like a 27-layer cake, but you want to be able to slice through one slice of cake and not say, well, but I'm the third slice. What about me now? I'm the 17th slice. No. You all have to hold together. How does that work?
Well, if you can see, there are numerous lines of music. But how many notes really can you have in one chord? So usually, depending on the complexity of the chord, it could be from 2 to 3 to 4, maybe to 8, sometimes to 12. But every time you go after a certain number, let's say perhaps unless if it's a consonant chord, after 4 notes or so, everything else is repeating. So even though you have a number of lines here, you need to know that some of those instruments are repeating or are doubling or are playing with. I don't know, like in this case, you can tell that the cello and basso are playing together. So you need to know, however, that even though they look the same, the bass is sounding an octave lower. So it's part of the complexity of this. Like, for instance, you can notice that the piccolo and the flutes are playing the same notes, but the piccolo is an octave higher. And then you will also see that the clarinet looks like it's playing a different note. However, it is the same note, and that's what it gets really maddening, because what it is that there are instruments that are written in a different key. So in this case, the clarinet is written in, let's say, in B flat. So that means when you see a note like a C, what it's sounding, what you hear is a B flat. So that's part of the study of understanding how to interpret a score and understanding what instruments are about. And then this that looks like the most complex thing in the world, you should be able to simplify it for yourself, so then you understand how to lead the orchestra, what to hear. The thing about it is that when you look at a piece of music like this, you're trained to listen, to hear what is here before anyone is singing or playing. And that's part of the training, right?
I also love this picture, and I think of this as José Daniel, the collaborator. Tell us what's going on in this picture.
So there I am with Maestro David Alan Miller, who is the conductor of the Albany Symphony. We collaborate with the symphony often. And there we are at a rehearsal, and he's consulting me on a part where the chorus is doing something that most likely, if I remember correctly, in that case he was asking me, could we have that phrasing done differently? So a good conductor would ask for advice from the choral conductor before they ask anything from the chorus, and that's what's happening there. He's asking my opinion about something that he would like to do in certain manner at the rehearsal.
So will he be conducting chorus and orchestra in the concert?
Yes, when I prepare the chorus for the Albany Symphony, is the orchestra conductor, in this case Maestro Miller, who conducts the orchestra.
Okay. I think now I have you in action with some video, so let's try that.
During the week, students also worked with the festival's artistic director and Albany Pro Musica's Opelka Family artistic director, Dr. José Daniel Flores-Caraballo, a longtime champion of choral education who, throughout his career as a music educator and conductor, has worked with students in private and public school settings, as well as with outstanding community choirs. Students participated in Dr. Flores-Caraballo's conducting workshop and rehearsed with him another commissioned work, Hate Has No World, by APM composer-in-residence Bradley Ellingbo. Both new compositions were premiered at the closing concert of the festival.
Maybe you can tell us about this festival.
Albany Pro Musica created an international choral festival that happens every other year. It alternates between Canada in Kingston, Ontario, at Queen's University, at the Isabel Center for the Performing Arts. That's the video that you were watching just a moment ago. It's a stunning hall, and and every other year, then we come to the university at Albany, and that's when we have the other festival. So students come from across the United States and Canada. We have found a generous grant by the Bader Foundation that pays full tuition, room, and board for these students to spend a full week with a world-class faculty. It's of the educational projects that I've been involved with, one of those that I feel really, really proud of, precisely because we've been able not only to have an excellent faculty, but to offer this opportunity free of charge for the students. And it is a life-changing experience. It really is. And I cannot tell you how proud and excited we are about this festival.
So I have just one more question, and that is, when is the next time that someone from Vermont or New Hampshire could see you conducting on the podium and hear some wonderful music?
So the Vermont Symphony Chorus, actually, I'll be preparing the chorus for the next two performances. One is at the Capitol, and that will be in February, and then there is the Carmina Burana performance that is going to be in May at the Flynn. But in this case, I'm just preparing the chorus, and Andrew, the new artistic director of the orchestra, will be on the podium for those two occasions.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure and so enlightening, and I do hope you'll come back, and I fully plan to follow your career from here. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.